This is Central Texas Living with Ann Harder.
For 5 years, Baylor grad and serial entrepreneur Cory Dickman has been helping people find their inner sleuth. Co-founder of Waco Escape Room, Dickman has even more tricks up his sleeve, and it is great to welcome you here to Central Texas Living Podcast.
Well, thank you, Ann. I appreciate the time. This is awesome. Thank you.
Well, no, it's your time. I'm retired, dude. You know, you have got how many businesses you're involved in? I mean, I was out of breath just reading up on you.
Yeah, I think whatever like the legal limit is, I'm probably one above it. So it's somewhere in there. But yeah.
Yeah, well, so let's talk about, so obviously the Waco Escape Room, a lot of folks have been there and enjoyed it. Yeah. And it you know, it's fun for just a group of friends or family or whatever, but also businesses use it as corporate training because of problem solving and all that.
Yeah, that's honestly, and I like that you brought that up because that's probably what excites me the most about the escape rooms and continuing to do the escape rooms is probably the corporate team building, getting school districts in there, you know, anything from like the China Spring lunch crew to, you know, Neighborly, to any of these companies, a lot of Baylor sports teams and departments there, but it's all centered around that communication, working on team building skills and things like that. I mean, bringing your friends and family is awesome, and those are kind of fills the weekend time slots. But during the weekday, those corporate team building deals are really fun to kind of see them work together.
So this was your first really venture as an entrepreneur, and there have been many come since. Waco Pedal Tours.
Yes,
that
ma'am.
was in reading some quotes from entrepreneur, famous, you know, folks who've started big businesses. You know, a lot of it is, you know, you see a need and you meet that need. You know, that you, instead of sitting in a room going, I'm going to think of the next best thing. You know, it's like, what do you need right now?
Yeah,
and that sounds like that's what that came out of.
I remember 1 Million Cups is a networking event. I don't know.
I had those guys on the TV show. Yeah,
one MC is awesome, and so we, myself and some other people, helped start that here about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago now. It's probably been a while. But we used to do it at the Hippodrome. And so we were in the back little control room there while the presenters were going on. And myself and my friend Jake were back there talking. And every time someone would present, it's always about a business. So we're always like, oh man, yeah, that's great. Or like, how could you make that better? And we would always just talk about it. And then one day, Valley Mills Vineyards was there talking about the Waco wine tours, and they had just started this. And so Waco tours had been around for maybe about a year, maybe less. And then Waco wine tours, and Jake and I were like, man, what is another tour? Like, there's got to be a thing we're missing here in Waco. And he just pulled it up on his phone and showed me a picture of one of the pedal bikes. And I was like, well, that's cool. Like, where's that? And it was like in Fredericksburg. And we thought, man, that'd be so sweet. Like, bring that to town, like entertain people. And one of my employees at the time at the escape room used to work at a resort in Mexico, and just is so personable. Like, he's a big personality, entertainer. And I said, man, I know Danny would be a tour guide on this. Like, we would call him Captain Danny, and he would, you know, entertain people all night long. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where it started. And you know, it starts with an idea, and then it's always that next step of action is the hard one. It's like, okay, are we going to go purchase the bike now? You know, are we going to put our, you know, finally put some money behind it or whatever? And so then it just starts that way. But yeah, it's always an interesting journey for sure when starting a business, especially if it's something that's not here or it's like new to the community.
And businesses kind of grow out of each other because I understand your bike broke down.
Oh my gosh.
And then you had to figure out, you know, well, we might need additional bikes. And so it was an interesting partnership with Rappaport Academy. Is that still going on?
It is. Yeah. And it, I know, Ann, you're just on point, girl. That's why you're professional.
Hey, that's why I make the big bucks.
That's why you make the big bucks. No, I was just telling a friend of mine the other day, like, that part breaking was this input shaft on the bike that makes the wheels turn, and from the motor,
kind of needed.
Yeah, needed. Has really kind of it has steered me, I guess, on the course where I am like right now, and working with Rappaport, and eventually the nonprofit that spun off of that called Triple Win, which is where I'm helping run that right now. It's still kind of in its infancy stage, but the idea of placing students, you know, in a shop space, either at our shop space, or we partner with Maker's Edge now as well, but primarily with Rappaport students and getting them real work experience, like work-based learning is obviously what it's called, but placing them with companies like a Waco Pedal Tours or Waco Axe Company or some other food trucks in town and helping them create these projects for them. But the students are learning and getting certifications, and the business is getting a great product, and the school gets these students in these classes. So that's kind of the triple win of it. But it all started because of that part breaking. And our insurance guy, Everett, had a friend named Clay. And he said, Clay can fix anything. Like, Clay doesn't know the word no. He just will do it. So I had him come look at it. And I had so many people look at that. And like for 2 months, everyone, can you fix this? Can you fix this? No.
Yeah, and your business is shut down until you get that fixed.
Totally. No money coming in. It was so stressful. And he's like, yeah, I think I can make it. I was like, really? Like, you can make this? And he's like, yeah. So, he fixes the bike. And then that's when it was like, well, do you guys ever see a need for a second one? And it was like, well, yeah, I mean, we only can run one tour a time, and you see Waco Tours has like 8 buses or 8 vans.
Yeah, you see them all over.
Yeah. So it's like, sure. Like, can you like you can build one? Like, again, it was like so foreign that someone could make this outside of like a big manufacturing company. And he was like, yeah, and I'm going to have students do it. And I was like, what?
Isn't that amazing?
You blow my mind. And when they built it in 6 months and it was incredible. Yeah. I mean, just the work they can do. And Rappaport puts out some pretty smart kids, but it was incredible. So yeah, from that, it's just a lot of things kind of spurn, and really, my position now with Triple Win and working with students was all because of meeting Clay, because that darn bike broke.
Well, let's go back in time. You're from Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about your childhood, your youth, and how in the world did you get to Baylor University?
How did I get to Waco, Texas? Yeah, Baylor. So grew up only child, so mom and dad, and really our family dynamic is pretty different than a lot of other families. Like, we're really close, my parents and I, growing up. But outside of that, all my grandparents had passed away before I ever got to really know them, and aunts and uncles, like, were kind of a part of our life, not really. And so, this is interesting. Thanksgiving was always a time where it was at our house, and then my mom would just invite friends over who didn't either have family or like just stuff going on in their life. So Thanksgiving to me was always my parents and then a bunch of just friends. So I love Thanksgiving because it is just bringing people together. And so that's kind of childhood. My dad was your typical 9 to 5. He still is, works downtown and has that kind of life. My mom, she was the entrepreneur, doing any business, salesperson. Like, mom was very big personality and was always kind of had that side thing going on. So always me getting to like go with her and check out stuff and like always be her like unpaid assistant, if you will. I got to kind of see a lot of this stuff. So I think the entrepreneur side probably comes from mom there. And then, Baylor, I applied to West Coast, East Coast. I did not want to go anywhere in the middle of the United States. I had never been to Texas.
I wondered if you'd ever even visited the state.
No, I totally thought everybody like had a cowboy hat, wore cowboy boots, maybe rode horses. Like, that was my perception. And so my senior year, our school did like a marketing competition. And so we made it to nationals, which was in Dallas. So we flew out to Dallas. And so that was the first time I'd ever been to Texas. But my mom, I'm like going all over the place here, Ann, but my mom's dad, he was a small church pastor. And so she always knew about Baylor growing up as a kid, like, oh, it's a big faith-based university. And it's like, blah, blah, blah. But, they could never afford to send her to Baylor or anything like that. So my mom knew about it. So she was actually the one that, hey, you need to apply,
take a look.
Yeah. And I'm like, I wanted to go to Stanford or Duke or, some other school. And so I was like, you can apply to Baylor. I'm not going to apply. So the story was my mom actually sent my transcript in and my dad did my application for me. I had nothing to do with the Baylor application.
I know. That.
So we're in Dallas and my parents were like, hey, let's just go to Waco. It's not that far away.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, and I have no idea. I didn't know if it was a 6-hour drive or an hour and a half drive. I don't know. So we drive down and we're touring the campus, and it was like, oh wow, this is a Texas university. This is cool.
Yeah.
And then we went to the business school, and they still have this class that trades stock on the stock
Oh
market.
yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, the largest run student fund in the country.
Mhm.
And it just grabbed me. Like we had been to Harvard, Stanford, North Carolina, Duke, Georgetown, all these big schools and great business schools. Nobody had a class like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is where I'm coming.
Yeah, Baylor's entrepreneurship program is one of the top in the nation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
no question about that.
Oh,
but,
I know.
But you didn't get a business degree.
No, I started as business, and then my second semester, sophomore year, I had to take accounting, and
You're a child after my own heart. The same thing happened to me.
Oh, it was awful. It was awful. I had an A in economics. And a B and an F in accounting. Like it was just how different your brain.
Marketing. I did great in marketing.
Yeah, marketing killed it. Accounting.
See, our brains think that way. So you ended up getting a communications degree.
I did. Yeah, communications and film. That's what I loved. I mean, my passion was that. So moved into that degree and graduated with that, and then.
Well, no, that was 10 years ago.
It was a long time ago.
So, yeah. So, and then you got a master's in sports management.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Did you ever envision doing something with that?
Yes, that was the whole plan. I think when I finished my master's, I wanted to go work for ESPN. That was either that or go back home to Portland and work for the Trailblazers. It's the NBA team there. Yeah. So one of those two. So I applied for an internship at ESPN, and then I was applying for an internship with the Trailblazers. And so as both of those things were kind of moving along, I could go down. I blew the ESPN job really bad. Like I never heard, like I applied, and then, me being so patient, after like a day, I didn't hear back. So I kept bugging the guy and he finally called. So I got a call from Bristol, Connecticut, like 2 weeks later, thinking, okay, this is it. This is the job offer. And he called and he's like, hey, just let you know, we're not offering you the internship. And just for future reference, don't ever bother the HR like you did. And I was like, oh, he was like, that's your takeaway from this. I was like, okay. So,
okay.
Was looking for the Blazers, had to wait for another year just for their hiring cycle. And so moved to Salt Lake because that's where my parents were living at the time. And the general manager of the Utah Jazz as a Baylor grad. And then, his son, Jake Lindsay, was on a men's basketball team a few years back. So there were some Baylor ties. I had an interview with his assistant to try to see if there could be some opening there. And so that was kind of the end of, I don't know if you want me to pivot off of that, but that I had that interview, or we had a lunch together, me and the assistant. And I had so many missed calls from my mom during that lunch. And I was like, what is going on? So it went well. He was like, yeah, he loves Baylor. Like, we could see about getting you in, like apply during the summer and then we see how it goes. I was like, okay. And so I get back to my car and I'm on like cloud nine, I'm like, this is it. And literally had like 10 missed calls. So I call my mom back and she's just crying. She's bawling. I'm like, what is going on? She's like, I was at the doctor and I was, something, my stomach was hurting. I didn't know what was going on. So we went and did some tests and she's like, they think it's liver cancer. And I was just like, what the heck? Like just,
out of the blue.
Out of the blue. I'm in the car in the parking lot. And so, that kind of began that journey. And she was diagnosed with liver cancer. And so I was working for a small food distributor company, kind of like a Cisco or a US Foods, but a local one in Salt Lake. So I was doing that kind of part-time and then staying home with mom, taking care of her. And then she passes away in March of 2015. So at that point, you're like, what the heck?
You're doing what you needed to do.
Yeah.
You're where you needed to be,
With dad, and we're,
sure, trying
to just hold it together. And so we moved back to Portland just so we could be near friends and family. And again, just like I always tell people, it was like a zombie. Like I just I was there, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And, kind of like lost the passion to like pursue, getting into sports is brutal. I mean, it is a grind. It's unpaid stuff. It's you're doing it for years. And so you really got to have your heart into it and be ready to work. And I just wasn't, I didn't really care anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's when one of my best friends had called me, Jared, and he had started an escape room in Jackson, Tennessee, and was like, hey, do you want to move back to Texas? And I loved Waco.
Yeah.
Like I was one of the types that like Waco like grew, on me. And so I told him, yeah, I'd love to move back to Waco. Whatever kind of gets me back, I'm good for. And so he's like, well, let's just open an escape room. And I was like, no, like something else, man. Probably not that. And he's like, no, I'm telling you, like they're doing well and this and that. And it was pretty new at the time. And so, that's ultimately what brought me back to Waco.
Yeah.
I know that kind of was a
No,
roundabout.
but I'm glad to hear the story.
Yeah.
Because I am a big believer that, when doors close,
Mhm.
there's a reason, and that, the Lord knows
Yes, he does.
what needs to happen.
Mhm.
And, but golly, you open the escape room,
Mhm.
a lot of startup businesses, they don't make it here 5 years later.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Here you are. And not only that, but let's talk about Nexus Esports. What is
Mhm.
that?
Yeah. So, 2015, 16, there's a game that comes out called League of Legends, and it's a game you play on the computer, and that kind of and we play this game all the time. Like this is like the way my friends and I still keep in touch is we play this game. So they had really been the first to take video games. We'll call it video games just for the sake of this, but to answer the question that kids always have for their parents, and their parents always say, well, can you make money playing video games? League of Legends kind of answered that question. Was like, yeah, you actually can.
Oh.
And so in 2015 they had their big world tournament, and prize pool was big, and there's a lot of viewership. And I think that was the first year that it was either 15 or 16 that it had more views than like Major League Baseball did. And so people watch this online. They stream it on Twitch or YouTube and stuff. Not your traditional like CBS or Fox or ABC, but the eyeballs are the same, And so esports is basically it's a sport that is played, with video games. So it can be it doesn't matter the name of the game. They all fall in this esports genre. So 2000, I just always forget these dates now, but probably 17 or 18, that was like, I felt the next kind of thing that was coming down, what's that thing 10 years from now or 15 years from now? We're like, dang it. Like,
Right.
why didn't we get into that? Or why didn't we see that coming? And esports just was, in my opinion, like a no brainer. Like this is where a lot of sports are trending to, football numbers are down, basketball, these things, and the streamable side of it, being able to just watch it on your phone or at home on your computer, like, cable television was kind of on the decline. And so it was like, what is going to be that internet thing that people are captivated by? And so esports was just probably one of those things. So Nexus was born out of that as like a venue where people can come, they can game, like your traditional LAN center, but have it look a lot better, big ceilings, big windows, metal, wood, like have it be the style we like, not just like a little tiny room that smells really bad. But then what the other side of it is the tournaments and, the idea of having, competitive teams. If you're in high school, you could team up with other high schoolers and be on a team and compete in tournaments and win prize money.
Yeah.
Things like that.
So many different things that you've been involved in. And what do you see down the pike? I mean, are you already thinking about other things to come?
That's a great question. I probably would have answered that a lot differently. Like the first week of March, I probably was still kind of in the mindset of like, let's grow. What do we need to do to push forward and maybe be like a little risky and stuff, but within the bounds that are fine, that makes sense. I'm not a big risk taker. I think people look at, oh my gosh, all these businesses, and it's like, yeah, but we do it pretty safe. Like
I was going to say they're still up and running. I mean,
I probably like swing for triples, not home runs a lot of the time. And then if it pans out, it works. But then when COVID hits, I think as every entrepreneur or business owner, it took a while for me to like get through the stages of grief or whatever they call it. Like, your first couple months, it's like, everything we've worked on or built, it's done, you go through those stages, and then it's like, okay, how do we, survive? Like, how do we keep things going, and how do we keep our employees paid? And so all of the, like, what are we doing 5 years from now kind of like goes out the window for a minute. And it's like, how do we just survive and stay open? And so we, the unfortunate side of all the things I do, for the most part, was all just completely shut down. Like there wasn't takeout or wasn't curbside. It was just, you're done. Like you can't operate. So it was very stressful, and it kind of was like, shoot, let's just make sure we're not closing kind of thing. But yeah, I think now, we've all been kind of open, and it's not back where it was, but it's like we're at least kind of doing things
Mhm,
again,
figuring it out
a
a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best advice you ever got as far as being an entrepreneur?
That's a great question.
And then what advice would you have for someone?
What advice did I get? And I'm so bad at like having mentors or asking good questions. I don't know. I don't know what advice I got. I'd probably be making it up right now if I came up with something.
That's okay.
I don't know. I am very bad at like, and I wish I was better at going to people that, are doing something that I want to be doing 10 years from now or 15 years from now, and asking them, what would you have done differently when you were my age or when you were starting? I probably should seek out people, and I need to do a better job of that. I think I'm such like a do it like an original concept, or do it a different way than everybody else. Like I think like that too much, and it sometimes backfires and sometimes it doesn't. But I don't know what kind of advice I would say. Advice I have for people is I can't, like, when we helped do Startup Waco as a nonprofit here in town that's kind of a entrepreneurial incubator hub, and in the very beginning we'd have people coming in and I want to start this business. It's like, okay, well, what, tell me about it. And they'd be all passionate, their eyes would light up. I'm gonna do this event planning business and da 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 da. I'm like, great. Like, what, have you started it? Like, what are you doing? Well, I got the LLC and I got the Facebook page, and, but I haven't like called anybody yet, but I'm doing all this stuff. And it's like, okay, great. So they come in like a month later and I'm thinking, hey, did you do your first event? No, I'm still waiting on the website to get finished and this and that. And I'm like, well, why don't you just go do an event? Like, just go, even if it's for a friend's kid's birthday party, just say you'll plan it for them, like for free. Just do something. And they're like, well, I'm not ready yet. And it's like, that's, I just can't, like, I know you need to put your ducks in a row a little bit.
Right.
But you just got to go do something.
You got to have a little courage there. Just to step out.
Yeah. So I guess, I don't know, my advice would be you just go do it, see what happens. And you're going to learn a lot from that. Either you're going to learn, ooh, I don't think I should be doing this. Or it's like, okay, that worked well. These 6 things worked, but these 4 things didn't. So how do I adjust that and be better at it? So I think just go do it. And it would probably be some advice I would have.
Well, I'm going to quote you here. You say, I tether the line of, oh, that guy's doing work. And oh, that guy might be insane. You say, maybe that's a good place to be. You still stand by that? Yeah,
probably. I think my wife would hope I'd go more to the better side of that quote. But yeah, I think you got to be on that gray area a little bit in order to push the envelope. But again, I try not to jump out of the plane without a parachute. There's always at least 1 or 2 parachutes before we leap. So.
Well, you're an amazing guy. It has really been a lot of fun hearing about your businesses and hearing about your life. I like to end these visits with a questionnaire similar to the one that James Lipton, the late James Lipton, used to use on Inside the Actors Studio. Okay. Does that ring a bell?
Yes. Well, more so I think the skit from, like, because I think Will Ferrell would parody.
Right, the parody.
I think he parodied that.
Okay, with the beard.
With the beard,
Imagine me with a beard.
Okay.
Asking you, what's your favorite word?
Ooh, these are so good. My favorite word, initiative.
Yeah, I can see that
I
with
like
you.
That word.
What's your least favorite word?
Security.
Yeah.
I don't know why that came to mind first, but
well, you're an entrepreneur, so you're just you're out there, that leap of faith. What turns you on then creatively or spiritually or emotionally?
Yeah. I mean, a new concept. Nothing gets me going more than if someone's like, oh, hey, I have an idea. Like, I could be in the worst mood, whatever. Like, and if someone says that, what? Like, tell me about it. Like, I don't even know. I don't even have to know who they are. It could be a stranger at a restaurant or something. That will get my ear at least for a minute or two. And then you'll quickly know if I think it's like, oh, that's cool. Or like based on just probably my facial expression. My parents used to say I could never hide anything on my face.
Yeah, not a poker player.
No. It's bad.
Yeah. Well, then what turns you off creatively or spiritually or emotionally?
The word no, I just can't. Like, I don't believe in it. I think there's always a way around something.
Yeah,
There's-
kind of like your engineering friend Clint, was that
yeah,
his name?
Clay,
Yes,
Clay,
yeah.
Clay. Yeah, I think that's why we get along so well, because there's just a way. I'm a firm believer in there's a way to fix anything, or there's a way around something, or anybody can find the courage to do something. If they don't want to do it, it's because they don't want to. I mean, it's not because they can't. I really think it's just the wherewithal is not there for them to go through it. But so I'd say no, probably.
Okay, what sound do you love the most?
What sound? Oh dang, man, that's good. I would say, I don't know, just whatever that sound of like excitement is from a person, like the whoo or the hey, like something like that, I guess. Like just the light bulb is turning on. So whatever that sound is.
Interesting. What's your least favorite sound?
Man, the least favorite sound, maybe like the door closing, because it means like something's over or it's ended, or
very poetic.
Is that poetic? I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It is. Okay, so you are a serial entrepreneur, but not the cereal you eat. It's
Not
like
that
one after another, after another, after another. So, but what profession would you have liked to try?
What profession would I have liked to try?
Yeah, and you may have already discussed that with the sports management. But.
Yeah, I mean, that true. Being a general manager of a sports team was always, and I still always think about it, but I just know that journey that's such a long one to go down. So I mean that could be the easy answer. I would have loved, and I guess I still could be, but like a professional esports player. Like my friends and I still joke about it. like we could do it. We could just commit 10,000 hours and just play, but some of these, like in esports, the prime.
You might have to get that past the wife.
Oh yeah. She would probably not be a fan of it.
Yeah.
A lot of the pro players are like 18 is their prime. So I'm a little bit past that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, what profession do you know you would not want to do?
Oh, accounting. Yeah. My going back to your question of my advice for people, this is good. I would say unless you're like the unicorn, which is fine. If you are, that's great. Do everything. But if you like find someone to work on your weaknesses, because you either partner up with them and give them some equity, or hire for them, but like don't try to do it. And there was a time where I would sit there and try to do our books, and it was just the biggest fat waste of 5 hours. Like, and I'm like, no, I'm saving money, or I'm being, a good business owner. Like, you should know what's going on always. Do your weekly reports. Don't just put your head in the sand, but like, get other people to help you with that stuff.
Yeah, that's sound.
Yeah. So Jared, he comes up with the puzzles for our escape rooms and stuff, but Jared, his way his brain works, he loves doing QuickBooks. It's like, it is like a game to him. Like, how do you make it all balance and stuff? And you have to have that for accounting. So I would say an accountant would be awful, both for me and whatever business.
and for your client.
And for my client, yeah.
All right. Well, finally, what do you want to hear God say to you as you arrive at the pearly gates?
I just want him to say, good job, my faithful servant. I think that's, we have to strive. And I know I hate when we do these and we don't really mention much about the Lord, but that is a huge motivation for me. My parents always instilled that in me, and that's something I believe in. And to be able to do all the stuff I do, and the time and the energy, it comes from the Lord. It comes from Jesus. And that's, you can do nothing apart from him. And that's where my strength comes from. So yeah, I just want him to say I did a good job. And as long as we glorify him in what we do and try to be intentional with people and get to know them and things like that. So that's what I hope he says. I hope he says that. Not, oh, come on. He's going to say, come on, Cory. Like you blew so many opportunities. He's going to say that. I know it. But yeah, I hope it's the other way.
Oh, no, that was beautifully said. That's beautifully said. Well, it's been great to get to know you, Cory Dickman. I mean, yeah, it's talk about drinking from a fire hose. That's sort of what it's like around you. All the things that you're doing, and just the enthusiasm and the passion you have for what you're doing. And I'm just thrilled that you're in Waco, that you're in Central Texas, and making it a better place.
I love being here. Well, Ann, thank you for having me, and I love what you're doing here. When Mike told me, hey, Ann's coming on to do some podcasts, I about flipped my lid. So
yeah, well, I did too when he asked me. So I'm excited to be here to get to meet wonderful folks
great.
like you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ann.
Central Texas Living is part of the Rogue Media Network family. Be sure to check out their other shows at roguemedianetwork.com. Please rate us 5 stars on iTunes and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Join us again soon for more Central Texas Living, the podcast.
Hello, and thank you for tuning into KNOW Waco. I am your host, Debbie, here to help you get in the know about Waco. So you may be asking yourself, why am I here? I'm here to be your tour guide through Waco. I'm here to tell you all the goings-on in and around Waco. I'm going to give you the 411 on what's happening, what's going on, and what events you should go to. This is your host, Debbie, signing off. Now that you know, go. Just go, Waco.
You are going on a run.
Are you building a new business while managing a family? Are you tired of trying to balance home and work and everything seems to be coming up short? Then there's a podcast made just for you. Baking Your Business from Scratch is where we create the perfect recipe for building a successful business while managing your home and family with love. Come join us and see for yourself.
This has been a Rogue Media Network podcast.